we don't license our software to anybody. We don't sell products. We don't sell services. We buy companies. We actually have created what we call the 240-day moat. What that means is we can buy a company in 120, and then it takes a 120 to deploy the technology. We believe that we're going to start seeing singles and doubles rolling off the plate about 120 days after the acquisition closes. We think we're democratizing access to the AI risk. Individual retail investors can go participate in this, and there's almost no intermediary between the value that's being created by our AI and their returns. It would be disappointing if we weren't a very large company in a year. Let's imagine we consummate only 4 transactions. Even that would put us into a revenue number that has another 0 at the end, or 2.
Welcome to The Upside with Lou Basenese, where we endeavor to find asymmetric upside opportunities for you in the public markets. And today, I got to tell you, we have a treat, a company that's probably not on your radar yet, but should be. CEO of AIAI Holdings, Todd Furniss. Welcome to The Upside.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I'm so fired up about this. I can't even stand it. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you about it.
Listen, most people don't know about you because you went to public in an unconventional way, a direct listing, which is not something that can happen unless you're a very fundamentally strong, advanced, and mature company. So for people that are new, what does AIAI Holdings do? What should they know about you out of the gate?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. It's not for the faint of heart. Yeah. We actually kind of characterize it as a double backflip off the high dive in Puerto Rico in the small bathing suit.
Not like a Rodney Dangerfield one.
But so what a direct public offering is you're not raising money. We went live with $272 million in revenue and about $15.5 million in EBITDA out of the gate. Yeah. We acquired 6 companies. Basically, all the conditions precedent to closing occurred 3 days before we started trading or so. And what we did then is we're going to use those companies to deploy our AI. Now, the trick here is...
So the ticker symbol is not a gimmick. You're actually an AI deployed company using technology.
Absolutely. It's our ticker is AIAI. And we call ourselves AI squared for short. Otherwise, it sounds like a nursery rhyme. But I will say we're really fired up about it. So our model, I think, is really the core of what's different about it. Not only do we have incredible technology, an incredible team, and a phenomenal board for any company of any size, but for our company at this size is remarkable. But what we do in our business model is very different, and it's designed to give almost like a democratization of access to AI risk.
Okay. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, let me build on that. So what we do is we don't license our software to anybody. We don't sell products. We don't sell services. We buy companies.
Okay.
Right. So we buy the companies that we find interesting. Usually they are either delivering complex services, urgent services, or administrative services. That's where we can create the most disproportionate value in the shortest term. But once we acquire them, we retain the management teams. Okay. So already people are saying, what? And what we do is we retain the management teams, and then we use our retained management teams to help us deploy our technology in our newly acquired companies.
So you're like a Berkshire Hathaway of holding companies that has an AI proprietary technology you can apply to all the companies
absolutely
you acquire.
Right. Almost like an AI cherry on top. Yeah, absolutely right. Now, what that means is we have the latitude to think very differently about how we deploy. So on the one hand, you'd say, well, Berkshire Hathaway, okay, every company is a standalone. The average purchase price of a company was $1.3 billion. That means they have scale to some extent. We're going to buy big companies and small companies. We just mostly the ones that fit. We have an opportunity, I think, given the speed with which we move, typically, to acquire a company in about 120 days.
Okay.
That's fast.
That's fast. So you're talking, roughly 3 acquisitions a year.
Or
more.
In Todd's speed, ideally two acquisitions a quarter.
Wow. Yeah. So you're going to run parallel processes to acquire multiple targets.
Yes. And so then what we'll do is we'll, again, use our management teams to deploy our technology in our companies. But the cool thing is we actually have created what we call the 240-day moat.
Okay.
What that means is we can buy a company in 120, and then it takes a 120 to deploy the technology. So we believe that we're going to start seeing singles and doubles rolling off the plate about 120 days after the acquisition closes. So we have a company right now, Carlton Industries. It's a construction company. And you might say, really? Construction?
Yeah.
Seriously? Typically kind of a good old boy business. But what we did is we have found that by ingesting $9 billion worth of goods put out in the last 5 years by this company alone, we had some interesting observations, not the least of which was estimating, which is the act of trying to prepare a bid, is a behavioral activity. So what that means is that
Interesting.
people bring their own biases into the estimating process. So that's the pitcher. On the other side, the catcher is the person to whom you give that bid,
Right.
which is also engaged in a behavioral exercise,
Right.
because they evaluate the proposal based on their determinations around risk. So once you understand that, it gives you an opportunity then to go back and look and say, hey, how did this person do it? How did that person do it? What were the behaviors that fed into that decision? So let's imagine.
So you can quantify the qualitative aspects of those bidding processes.
100%, yes. Now, what's really cool, we're going to roll this estimating tool out on June 30. And what's going to be interesting about that is, let's imagine that we keep the same win rate, and but we increase the number of bids we can put out in a year. You make more money.
Yeah.
If we increase the number of bids we put out in a year and we increase our win rate, you make more money.
Yeah.
If you can increase the win rate, increase the number of bids you put out, and stop focusing on bids that you're not going to win, you're preserving resources and improving throughput. So the focus is on innovation. It's on go-to-market. It's on new service creation. It's on speed to market. It is not about cost reduction.
So not on cost reduction, which is atypical for a product that's selling into AI. But I think this is also atypical because your model strips out the sales process. You're acquiring the company and saying, like, we don't have to sell you our AI. We've acquired you, and now we're gonna deploy our AI.
100%. So what's interesting about this is I worked a long time ago for a large company down in Dallas called EDS. And we learned a lot about something called enterprise sales. So let's imagine you're in middle management and you say, hey, we need a ERP application or a CRM application. So you reach up your hand and you say to somebody in senior management, hey, we need an ERP. And so you say, we could look at SAP or Oracle or somebody like that. And the senior guy says, hey, go write a memo on that. So you go off and write a memo and you bring back the memo cheerfully. And the senior guy says, yeah, go hire McKinsey to do a study. Right? And so McKinsey writes a study, says, yeah, you can create a lot of value by implementing this.
For $300,000, McKinsey does a study.
Yeah, exactly right. So then the study gets done, and then what has to happen is then McKinsey also says, but there are a lot of other good ERPs. It's not just about SAP and Oracle. You ought to evaluate 5 or 6 others. So we need to do a competitive procurement. Okay. So it takes 2 months to 3 months to write the RFP. Then it takes 2 months to get the proposals back. You can see the time.
Yeah. The time to deployment keeps extending.
Okay. So now what happens is you get the proposals back, you make a decision, then you start negotiating the contract. That takes 60 days. Yeah. I've been in corporate law for 100 years, and always 60 days. From the day you get the first draft, it's 60 days.
Yep.
And then what happens is either you start writing or you start affirming the implementation plan, which takes another 6 months.
Right.
So, and the way you have to sell this is typically convoluted by virtue of the RFP process itself, because in order for me to make an enterprise sale, I've got to go talk to all the stakeholders in the business I'm selling into, right?
Yeah.
So that further makes it complicated and political and a whole bunch of other stuff.
So you guys strip that completely out of the process.
Exactly right. So we think conservatively, we're taking risk, cost, and time out of that equation by owning the companies ourselves.
Yeah. Then talk to me about, are you industry agnostic? Are you just looking for good businesses anywhere they could be found, or you have a sweet spot in certain areas? You talked about construction.
Yeah.
I know you have a background in healthcare. Is that a focus area?
I know a little bit about healthcare, and I'm passionate about that one. But yes, healthcare, defense technologies, financial services, there'll be a range of them. But again, always emphasizing revenue growth, innovation, speed to market.
Yeah. So let's talk about AI right now, because I'm
looking for a podcast company. I don't know.
Well, we want too big of a price right now. We got to grow into our multiple. So I will keep you posted, though. I do want to talk about just now, there's so much competition week in, week out. Yeah. It's Anthropic's leading, OpenAI is leading. Now Gemini's taking the lead. You guys are getting out of that equation entirely. You're not using them. You have a proprietary AI. So give me some background and give our listeners some background on what makes that credible. Who are the people on your team that have helped develop the AI, that are involved with the deployment? Because you have an impressive roster of executives and advisory board members.
It's genuinely amazing. I'm so humbled just to have a chance to be in the same room with some of these guys. I can't even tell you the number of times I'm in a conversation and I'm just baffled. I mean, we're talking about stuff that is so cool.
Yeah.
And I get a chance to be in the room. Right. And so we have the chance to work with Michael Sandoval. Michael is the former head of AI for Microsoft.
Okay.
He was a Nobel nominee for AI. Pretty good guy, right?
He might have some knowledge.
Yeah, and then John Rochon is one of the principal architects of Psychometric AI. He wrote some of the early academic papers with Jeffrey Hinton back in the day. And so what we've done is we've taken John's technology and Michael's technology and woven them together. But on our board, we have this fellow named Mel Greer, head of AI for the FBI. We have General Costantino, former COO of the Business Executives for National Security. We have Ambassador Gene Phillips, former ambassador to OECD under George W. Bush. We have Andrew Shep, who just sold his company Aligned Data Centers for $40 billion all cash to NVIDIA, BlackRock, and
yeah, that was only a couple months ago, that announcement. Yeah.
So actually, I don't know if they've closed yet because they had to wait for DHS to reopen and get funded in order to get some approvals done. But
it's amazing.
It was announced sort of 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So, and then we have another medical doctor, Dewey Lee, on the board, and a guy named Eric Affelt, who's he's kind of one of these multifaceted guys. He's an operating partner for KSL. He used to be the CEO for a big company called Club Corp, and he's also got a tremendous amount of time and talent in healthcare. Former chairman of the board for Vail Health, currently on the board for Eisenhower Medical. I mean,
so you've got expertise in a lot of domains, most importantly from the top level for AI. How would you describe what your proprietary technology does that's different than everything else that's out there that helps you get an edge in optimizing the companies that you acquire? Because I think a lot of people will say, well, this is a black box.
Yeah.
We can't, how do we believe you until we get the results coming from the company?
Fair point. Trust but verify, right?
Yeah.
I'm with you all the way. And so what we have in the diligence process, we looked at the technology and made certain that we had good case studies, not for the combined technology, but for the individual technologies.
Yep.
So we're looking at John's history and his track record, which is phenomenal. We know Michael's track record and history. It's phenomenal. But what's happening when we come together is we're blending this psychometric AI element with Michael's technology, which includes not only all the other forms of AI, but also sits on a bed of about 180 different branches of mathematics. So we have the ability to, and just tell me to wave me off if I get too boring.
No. Look, I think this is all relevant and interesting because people don't really understand how large language models work. It's just I punch these things into ChatGPT and it miraculously does these things. Right. I think it's important to understand the mechanics of it.
So what's cool about this is that, first of all, we have a psychological element to the technology. So if I said, hey, Lou, I'm going to give you a bonus. It's a small bonus for you. It's $100,000, right? Yeah. So you have a choice to take the bonus in one of four forms. I can give you all cash. I can give you stock in my company. I can make a charitable contribution to the charity of your choice in your name.
Yep.
Or I can give you the use of a Ferrari for a year. You choose.
I'm definitely not choosing the last one because I could care less about a Ferrari. I'd be fun for a day and then I'd be like scared to drive it anywhere. The charitable thing is very interesting to me. But I'm an equity guy. I like to take the risk, so I want to bet on the win for the long-term value.
Right. So the honest answer is it doesn't matter which you choose, but what you choose tells me a lot about you.
Interesting.
Right. So, for example, you say charity. Okay, let's work with that. That probably means something like, hey, I would prefer psychic capital than actual capital. Yeah. I want to have connection with my community.
Yeah.
I want to feel good about trying to help my
So you're taking the context of the response to
and then building
inform,
on that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's called inferencing, right?
Yep.
You go back and forth and learn a lot about the person. Well, that also helps us understand the people you hang out with. So we got our provenance finding bad guys, right? So John actually started
finding, not funding.
Finding bad guys.
I'm just making sure I didn't hear you wrong.
No, so we actually have a fantastic nonprofit that we support called Skull Games.
Okay.
And Jeff Teagues is the CEO there. He's a phenomenal guy. And what he does is he uses ex-special ops guys to go find bad guys.
Yeah.
Found tunnels going from Mexico into the United States, in the first quarter the report came out, I think they found and had arrested in the first quarter 54 bad guys.
Wow.
And they sent another 150 or so to the authorities to go chase them down.
Yeah.
So, but what happens is you can learn how these guys may interact with one another, and you can find clusters and a bunch of other stuff. So as a result of that, the same is true in the inverse, right? We can find good guys.
Yeah.
Right. So what I like to say, I've been asked this question a lot about AI, is it good or is it bad? And the answer is neither. It just is, right?
It doesn't have a
normative value attached. It just says, you can do good things with it and you can do bad things with it, like many things. So our focus is trying to do good, right? Or always do good. And then use it for proper purposes in an ethical way. So by way of example, I just walked through the board. I did two things with the board that I think are somewhat foot forward. The first thing I did is I said, look, I want to have a special risk committee.
Mm-hmm.
You say, Todd, a risk? I mean, that's what's a big, no, enterprise risk goes into audit. The risk committee that I created is for forward-looking anticipatory risk identification.
Okay. So what areas you might go into?
Cyber issues, right? So then I asked Mel, I said, Mel, I want you to go get certified by NACD to have the certification to oversee cybersecurity issues for our company.
Yeah.
So everybody on the board is a member of NACD. Okay, so Mel's going off to do that. Who better, right, than Mel Greer to go have that role? And then what I did is I said, I want to have a committee that's focused on ethics.
Interesting.
The ethical application of AI. And we got fantastic Gene's involved in that and a few others. So it's just, when you have this kind of a talent pool, it's just amazing. So,
but then it gives you a framework to work for and evaluate the potential acquisitions. And do they fit this ethical framework? Do they fit this risk framework?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then when you come down one layer below that, which is our management team, I'm genuinely honored to have a chance to work with these guys. Actually, I've known everybody on the team for mostly 20 plus years.
Okay.
So, we have Ken Betts, who is a former Skadden Arps, Winston Strawn lawyer. He works for Egan Nelson, coming over as general counsel. Okay, so incredibly talented guy. And then we have Stephanie. She ran all of global financial operations for HP.
Okay.
And was a Section 16 officer for a long time for HP and was the global controller for HP. Fair resume, right?
Yeah.
So then we had Barb Barton, who I just get such a kick out of. She's one of my oldest friends. I've known her since like 1990, right? Both working at EDS at the time. She's the first person ever to be appointed the chief tax officer and the chief accounting officer at the same time for a Fortune 50 company, HP.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. And then we go down to Amy Williams-Ramey, who's a more recent joiner of joining the team. And she was the former GC at Sabre, the reservation system.
Yeah.
Right. So
you have a dream team put together right now. You're under $1 billion market cap, a little bit under. Hard to attract that kind of talent unless there's a big opportunity. So how do investors look at it from catalyst? What's next? What are the milestones?
Right.
As a newly public company, a lot of companies get themselves in trouble by over-promising, under-delivering. You don't strike me as that guy. So what is the things that people should be watching out for you to execute on?
Thank you for asking that, because it's really important. They look at two things. One, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, and we're coming out with, on average right now, at least 2 press releases a week.
Okay.
A steady stream of information, because we also like transparency.
Yeah.
All good. But the real issue is, when are we going to start seeing some singles and doubles? Right. I'm not looking for grand slams. I'm not looking for home runs. I want singles and doubles on the board as quickly as possible to show that the applications work and the technology works.
Yeah, the technology works, and then just keep stacking them on top of each other.
And we're hearing great stuff from the portfolio companies about the work we're doing already with Michael and his team. So it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And then the second thing is look for acquisitions.
Okay.
We're going to have, like I said, my goal is 2 acquisitions a quarter. Some will be bigger than others, but we have a remarkable team that's capable of execution on the acquisition side. We had to actually turn the spigot off last fall because we had so many people coming to us. We said, look, every time we put a new company into our financials, we've got to then go change the S1.
Interesting. Yeah. So it was slowing down that process to get public then, because.
So we actually said in the S1, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hit the pause button on all the current conversations, because we don't want to have a quota probability of transacting, and we'll resume conversations once we go public and we can do it properly. So
how do you think about funding those acquisitions? Is it a mix of cash and stock? Is it all stock? I mean, does it, what's that capital allocation decision?
So our model thus far has been to pay enterprise value in shares.
Okay.
Now, why enterprise value? Because we want them to liquidate enough shares at close to liquidate the debt.
Yep.
So our companies are debt free.
So they come in debt free into the portfolio.
That's exactly right. And then the shareholders, the management team and others who are shareholders, they get the benefit of the liquidity and an employment agreement.
Yep.
And a second bite at the apple, the best second bite at the apple ever.
Right.
Right. Because they get to play with this cool technology, and they're diversified.
Keep running the business that they've run for
and
a
they
long
keep running
time.
the business, and they get to propagate their culture.
Yeah.
Right. Which is important, especially to what the folks in there calling the silver tsunami. Right. So we have the opportunity to then harness that energy in a very positive way and then charge forward. It's very different.
So it's an interesting model. And I always try and figure out, I think total addressable market questions always are, best case scenario.
Yeah.
How would you define total addressable market here? Because I start thinking about this, and you can go to any industry, you're, company agnostic,
right.
As long as you can capitalize it in a good way. What do you think the market opportunity is here for AIAI?
I think the only limitation is the speed with which we move, but that's going to be very fast. But when you think about it, you're familiar with Jeffrey Moore's technology adoption curve,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the media would have you believe that we're over here on the technology. Everybody's already got AI. Nobody needs it anymore.
Yeah, not anywhere close.
It's kind of like the Monty Python skit. You buy the French castle. Come join me on the quest for the Holy Grail. I already got one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's happening right now is people are very nervous about AI, and the middle doesn't want to deploy it because they're saying, like, let me get this straight. So you want me to help you train an AI model that's going to take my job and gut my company?
Right.
I don't think I'm in for that.
Yeah.
Right. So 95.
We talked about the silver tsunami. These are people that are middle-aged, near retirement. That like, what's the incentive?
So 95% of all successful, according to McKinsey, 95% of all successful pilot projects are never implemented.
Yeah. It's a human resistance,
exactly
not
right.
a technological capability resistance.
Right. So let me kind of play with that for just a second. This is kind of fun. So everybody's saying the professional services are done, right? Legal, accounting, medical, right? Let's play with that for a second. Really? So when was the last time an AI bot was licensed to practice medicine?
They can't, I don't believe.
Bingo. Right. And if you actually, depending upon the jurisdiction, you could actually be disbarred if you use AI in legal proceedings.
Right.
Right. So, and then for accounting, we said when we're going through this process, hey, look, going through this PCAOB audit is brutal. How about we do this? Let us use our technology and we'll suck all the data in and we'll create pristine financials for you to look at and audit.
Yeah.
They wouldn't take the numbers.
Because it wasn't done in the way
it has to be valid, verified,
yeah.
validated. So there's a lot of resistance in the market. Not that they are bad guys or good guys. It's just like, wait a minute, I've got a fiduciary duty. I've got my license. Whatever. Now, what's interesting?
It's a typical force that pushes against disruption, not because the disruption is wrong, but just because it's not normal. It's not the status quo.
Exactly right. So here's the other thing that's fascinating. On the other side of the ledger, you know what the questions being asked by the healthcare community are? If I don't use AI in 5 years, am I guilty of malpractice?
Interesting. So now as you can't get a license for AI, but at the same time, the practitioners are saying like, am I at risk if I'm not using it, conceivably just over the short-term horizon?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, Mayo did a study. This is kind of fascinating. They said, if you have a choice to get a diagnosis and a protocol from an AI bot and a doctor, or just the doctor, which do you choose? 80% said, I only want the AI.
Interesting.
Because they don't trust doctors anymore. Yeah. COVID had a huge devastating impact on the healthcare community.
Yeah. So let's talk about just, again, you look out 12 months from now. 12 years from now, you're hopefully retired. You've exited for a big exit.
No, my wife married me for better, for worse, but not for lunch. So I don't see retirement anytime soon.
12 months from now, you execute on everything. What do you think the upside is for the stock from this standpoint? And the business, again, for the retail investor that's thinking about doing some more research to figure out whether to invest?
So a couple of things that you had in there that are all important to tap into. So first of all, we think we're democratizing access to the AI risk. Individual retail investors can go participate in this, and there's almost no intermediary between the value that's being created by our AI and their returns.
Okay.
Right. They're also going to see diversification because we're in a variety of industries. So it's not going to be cyclical. It's not going to be industry specific. And then we're going to continue with the acquisitions. So it would be disappointing if we weren't a very large company in a year.
In a year.
Let's imagine we consummate only 4 transactions. Even that would put us into a revenue number that is has another 0 at the end, or 2.
So that puts you, I mean, market cap less than $1 billion, potentially doing $2-3 billion in revenue. So you apply a normal sales multiple on that, and you should be trading multiples higher than where you're at now upon execution, which is always the thing that
gotta execute.
That comes down to you. Unfortunately, you're the only one, the executor in chief. So
yeah. So I think if I'm a retail investor, I'd say, look at the board and look at this management team. Do you have any question whatsoever?
Yeah.
That these guys can't achieve? I mean,
yeah. And I always say, look, you've laid out what the plan is, trust but verify, watch you execute. So I would love, with that in mind, as you announce acquisitions, as you show traction in the business, to have you back on so that we can talk about the developments and most likely a higher stock price at that point.
I hope so. Again, the model and the technology combined with the management teams and the board are phenomenal. Our board can reach out to virtually anybody on the planet in capital markets. Yeah. So it's a who's who. But I think this is going to be one of the most exciting things. I know it's going to be the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life.
Last question. What does being public change for you and how you can implement this? Why wouldn't you do this private versus being public?
We have a permanent source of capital. Right? And we consider ourselves permanent capital. Yeah. Right? So we're not in the buy and flip business.
So you're not going to optimize and then exit these companies like a PE.
We're going to harvest that EBITDA for our shareholders. Yeah. And we, 5 quarters out, we want to start offering a dividend to our shareholders. And so there's another model out there which is quite interesting to me. I won't name names because I don't want anybody angry with me, but what they're doing is they basically have taken a private equity firm public.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. But what they're doing is they're sucking all the PE fees out of the company.
Right.
$70 million in PE fees.
Yeah.
A year.
Yeah. And then just extracting that for themselves. And then they flip the companies. And
if I'm a shareholder, I'm livid. I'm saying, wait a minute, there's got to be conflicts issues. I mean, there's tons of problems with that model. So our model is very, very clean in that regard. Our management team has a base, a bonus, and stock. And everybody is really compensated on the stock.
Yeah.
So if the stock goes
shareholder interests are aligned with management interests.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen, I would love for you to come back as we continue to track you. So thank you again for making time.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much, Lou.